This is one of the typical things, let us say, in the agriculture sector to assess climate vulnerability of agriculture. Expand use of traditional rainwater harvesting and water conserving techniques. Prepare adaptation manual, identifying best practices in irrigation. So these were the action, and who was responsible to do it? Department of DORD, that is Department of Rural Development, DOWR, Department of Water Resources. Like that agencies we identified, and we also tried to put some number as to what would be the funding required in each of the actions. So these are some of the actions. Like agriculture, key proposed actions were on the policy and institution front, capacity building front, knowledge front. Similarly, coast and disasters, we have identified the actions. Energy, let us go to one of the sectors. Policy and institution sector, functional reorganization of the energy department. That energy department, OERC, that is Orissa Electricity Regulatory Commission, and Orissa Renewable Energy Development Authority. A comprehensive policy and plan to save energy use in order to reduce the demand-supply gap. Implementation of utility level DSM measures. Then an operational plan for the fund that will get revenue for the sale of power that is exported. You know, as I told you, we have a large coal reserve, so many of the we have going to set up many power plants, and the power will be mostly exported to other states. So some kind of a levy on that, so that state gets resources for whatever environment cost it has to incur. So some revenue for that. State level energy efficiency standards for the various sectors. On the capacity building front, capacity building of energy auditors and strengthening of existing energy conservation cell. Promotion and implementation of the national, this is Bureau of Energy Efficiency's ECBC code, that is Energy Compliant Building Code. The knowledge, study and implementation of emerging clean coal technology. So on the energy area, we identified these action points. Similarly, fishery sector, forest sector, increasing afforestation, reforestation activities in degraded forest, like that. In each sector, we identified the key proposed actions: transport, urban planning, water. Then we went for, while doing this, we had, after we put some kind of a draft document, we went for detailed stakeholder consultations. Okay, 5 minutes so far, okay. Detailed stakeholder consultations. So we had representation, we consulted fishermen associations, farmer groups, self-help groups, trade unions, industry associations, weaker sections and women. So these different stakeholder groups we consulted in the consultation workshops. Then we put the whole document on the website. We came to a draft action plan, and we had set the deadline of World Environment Day, that is June 5th. For putting this document on the website. On the 5th of June this year, our Chief Minister uploaded this document on the website, and then on we invited comments and suggestions from public at large. For 2 months it was there on the website. We have received now a number of comments, very large number of, there has been very enthusiastic response to this web hosting, and lot of comments have come. So now, the comments that has come, we have also reduced to this kind of a format. Like whatever comments we received from a particular person, we are also putting what action we are taking on that. And we are also going to put this on the website so that people know whatever suggestions they made, how it has been incorporated or how it has not been incorporated in the final document. So this matrix has been, let us say, this thermal power. I am not able to read it from here. You can possibly, okay. This suggestion was the anticipated expansion of thermal power generation capacity from 4,000 megawatt to 55 to 60,000 megawatt is definitely not an environment-friendly solution. This should rather be part of renewable energy portfolio, that too in a phased manner. This was the suggestion which came from somebody called Biswajit Mahanti, and this was his email address. So our response to his response was, to minimize GHG emissions, several points have been covered in the energy sector of thermal power plants. And we have also, this is an interesting thing which came from this suggestion. What we are now doing, all the thermal power plants that are coming to the state, we are saying that 1% of that capacity you must generate in solar power. That is your obligation now. So this is going to be a policy, and anybody who comes for a thermal power plant, if he is setting up a power plant of 1,000 megawatt, he must generate 10 megawatt at least in solar power. So this is what from the stakeholder consultation this has come. You can see the next point also. The suggestion was we must propose some levy, green cess kind of thing. So we have now the suggestion shall be incorporated. We are saying the suggestion shall be incorporated in the energy sector. It is proposed to introduce green cess as follows: 1 paisa, that is 1 cent per unit, 1 cent in our currency, 1 cent per unit for low tension and 5 paisa for high tension users. So this is another thing we are going to put. So this is how whatever suggestions came from the public, we are trying to incorporate in our action plan. So general feedback, interdepartmental and intersectoral convergence is critical. That is what we have been told. I mean, these are the comments we received. Streamlining the entire institutional mechanism is required for effective implementation of any action plan. There is a need for a separate agency or a department to coordinate climate change. Monitoring and verification of CAP implementation independent is necessary. Demonstration for new initiative technology followed by scale-up should be the approach. Transparency and public participation is the key. These are some of the feedback we got. Then Orissa CAP is one of the first in India. In fact, we are the first state in India to have come up with a well-documented action plan. Substantial time and involvement of our officers, chairpersons, members, timely support from World Bank and providing international best practices and domestic expertise. Stakeholder consultation workshop and web-based consultation, this has been very useful. We are going to set up a climate change cell more in the line of the Orissa State Disaster Management Authority that we had after our super cyclone of 1999. Incidentally, I was the first managing director of that Orissa Disaster Management Authority. So we are going to create a umbrella organization, something like that, which will be monitoring the climate change action plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We just finished on time, so Mani, I think you have to. Yeah, we have no more time, but I think we had the presentation. So we have half an hour for the discussion and to listen your comments. You have received a lot of information. So what I would suggest is that we take some questions, 3 or 4 questions. The microphones are there in the aisle. So please feel free, and the panelists are ready to try to address your concerns, questions.
Give us that 5 minutes.
Well, no, it's already, the 20 minutes were used.
I just thought I'll take 2 minutes to highlight what World Bank's role is and how we positioned ourselves. Basically, our entry point was we are involved in the development policy operation in Orissa, and through that we got a request from the government of Orissa to help them with the state climate change action plan. And as Mr. Behera mentioned, Orissa is on it's a poor state, but it's now on a big, huge growth path in terms of average growth path of almost 8.5%. It's becoming a top investment destination for all major resource-intensive industries and so on and so forth. So again, as Mr. Behera mentioned, this was the first climate change action plan in India, and World Bank is kind of proud to associated with it. It was a bottom-up approach and highly consultative, using an SCA approach. And there was a lot of ownership across different departments. We made diligent use of whatever resources we had. And the idea was to do a kind of bottom-up, kind of from grassroots level in terms of knowledge sharing and policy debate and action. So that was unique about it. And then the challenge, of course, was to getting traction at the IS levels. And then that's where Mr. Behera came in, and he really took leadership in getting traction at the level of Chief Secretary and Chief Minister. And also the consultative process brought in the civil society on board. And it was really critical because climate change in a state like Orissa, which has other pressing environmental problems, that was the big issue that came up from the NGOs, saying that should we not be focusing on other issues when climate change is more of a long term. But then the challenge from our team was to indicate that although climate change is a long-term issue, but then it also Orissa was also suffering from climate vulnerability even today. So this is actually a window of opportunity to engage in broader environmental issues as well. So I'll stop here and we'll be happy to answer any questions.